As we start out as a professional, then there is almost an unwritten expectation that we should be very consistent, choose a lane and stick to it. But when you're somebody like me, who is multi-passionate, likes to try different things, is always studying, then the idea that we should stay consistent can feel like a block. So today I want to talk about how the 3 modes in astrology are essential energies that remind us that it's a combination of these modes that we need to stay in balance. And if you know what mode dominates your birth chart, then this can be really helpful, because often we do have an imbalance of modes in the chart. And so when we know that, then we can start to do practices, learn things, find ways to bring in the energy of those modes that we're missing. And even if you don't know the modes in your birth chart, you can still appreciate the need for this balance. I mean, I'm sure you've had the experience of starting something that you never seem to finish, or even feeling so rigid in something that you're doing that you feel like things have turned a bit stagnant. Or maybe you're worried about the client's expectations of you, and so that's why there's some fear to bring in anything new. And these are all examples of the modes in astrology. So if we have a look at this diagram, you can see that the 12 zodiac signs are divided into 3 key modes. And these modes talk about the way that those signs operate in the world. So the signs of Aries, Libra, Cancer and Capricorn are what's called cardinal signs. And cardinal signs are initiating. They're the signs that kind of get things started. There's a leading energy about cardinal signs. And we need this energy to assert, to take control, to be autonomous and move things in a new direction. This is the energy that we need when we want to be brave, when we want to start a new project, when we want to launch something for the first time. Then we need this cardinal energy. And each of those cardinal signs expresses that cardinal energy in a slightly different way. Aries is about excitement, about motivation. Libra is more about connection, making connections with people that we need to move forward. Capricorn is a very practical cardinal energy, likes to start building things. Whereas Cancer is more of an intuitive cardinal energy, really taking action on the intuitive messages. So you might be thinking, but what if I start loads of things and just never finish them? And that can definitely be an expression of too much cardinal energy. And so when we do start things, then we need what's called fixed energy. Fixed energy is more of a sustaining energy. It's the energy that kind of keeps us going and is kind of like the workhorse. And the 4 signs that are associated with this fixed energy are Taurus, Scorpio, Leo and Aquarius. So fixed energy is what allows us to be consistent, to give things a real chance to see if they're going to work. Because if we are dominated by cardinal energy, then we'll just start things and then something else exciting will come along, so we'll start that. Whereas fixed energy allows us to really give things a try. There's a solidness to fixed energy. And this is really important when we're setting up our business, because we need to give things an opportunity, to be patient, which is very much a fixed energy word. So, but you might question yourself, well, what if I'm stuck in the same thing forever? I'm the kind of person that's got lots of ideas, I want to keep changing. Well, that's when we bring in the mutable energy. And isn't it interesting how these modes are actually related to the seasons? So all of the cardinal signs are at the beginning of the seasons, the beginning of the spring, the beginning of the summer, the beginning of the autumn, the beginning of the winter. So cardinal signs are about initiating those seasons. And the signs that come in the middle of those seasons are the fixed signs. There's this sustaining quality about them. And then as the season comes to an end, we have the mutable signs. This is when the season is changing and turning into the next season. There's a flexibility about the mutable sign, and adaptability, and we need that. We need to be able to launch things, give them time to see if they work, and then adapt as we see how things are working. So the 4 mutable signs are Pisces and Virgo and Gemini and Sagittarius. And again, each has a very different energy. The idea with the mutable signs is that there is an enjoyment for exploration, for learning, for possibility. The mutable signs are more changeable, they're more adaptable, open to ideas. And this is why it's so useful to know what modes are most dominant in your chart, because then you can know what you need to work on, who you need to collaborate with, which I think is a really interesting thing to think about. Because, for example, in my chart, I don't have a lot of cardinal energy, and so it does take me a long time to kind of get things started and kind of get things going. And I really feel that if I was going to collaborate with people, as I'm sure I will do in the future, that bringing on board some people who have that cardinal energy would be really beneficial and would really resonate with what my chart needs. So coming back to this idea that clients might think that you're inconsistent, well, I recently had a client and she really embodied these ideas very well. So we worked together on my 6-week one-to-one program, and she already had lots of certificates for different healing modalities that she'd been learning, and she was just feeling a little bit uncentered because she wasn't sure which one she should choose and whether she should only choose one, even though she enjoyed all of the modalities that she'd been learning. So we did a lot of work with her birth chart. Instead of just sticking to one healing offering, she had one main offering, and then she was offering smaller workshops during the year that incorporated some of the other healing modalities that she'd been learning. And this kept the energy exciting. She was able to express the other things that she was passionate about while still having a level of consistency for the clients that she already had. She also decided that with the clients that she had, that instead of sticking to a very structured system in her work, that she would adapt to each client's needs. And so she started to bring in the energy of the cardinal, the mutable and the fixed together to not only make her client offering more enriched, but to make her life more enjoyable. So when we're thinking about these three energies, then it actually reminds us that we don't have to become stagnant, handle our own boredom because we don't want to upset clients. No, there's other ways that we can express and use these energies. So let me know in the comments. Do you know what mode dominates your chart? Are you honoring all of those modes, even if you don't know? Because this is how we truly grow and evolve our healing gifts. Thank you for watching.